and welcome to another session on Indian writing in English. We continue with Nagamandala. Last class we discussed Naga's first visit to Rani, and you do remember the dialogues where Rani says, "Why do you tease me like this? I'm sick of being alone. And then tonight I was terrified you might not come. That what I remembered from last night may have been just a dream. I was desperate that you should come again tonight. But what am I to say if you spin riddles like this?" So if you look at this section, you will find the doppelganger technique or doppelganger theme that has been given here. That is the doppelganger technique or the theme where the same person has two different personalities. So Karnad has employed this in the play, and the two different personalities here is Appanna as of Appanna during the daytime and Appanna as Naga during the night time. Okay, so that's how he has used this technique of the doppelganger theme. At this, Rani asks Naga why he teases her by offering to cut off his nightly visits to her. Rani feels that the company of Naga at night very reassuring, but his rude conduct towards her during the daytime makes her doubt that his visit to her and his love-making with her was just a dream. So she was afraid that he might not come again. But heart of heart, she desired that he should come again. And she was in a fix, does not know why he behaves differently during the day and during the night. So it's a riddle to her which she cannot solve. So the action of the whole play centers around this character. Her hopes, her desires, misery, happiness, and at last her union with her husband. So the character of Rani presents the journey of woman from enslavement to empowerment that we will see towards the end of the play, and from frigidity to sensuality. So Naga, soon we get to see in the first act itself it starts, but in the second act it's more evident. So she was a frigid person, a very shy person, and from that she changes to a sensual woman, and she begins as so in the beginning again she begins as a victim of her husband's oppression. But as we progress with the play, we find that she ends up as a goddess and she's worshipped. So Rani, the protagonist of the play, is a character whose life trails as she evolves from an immature, naive girl into that of a confident and mature woman. Like any other girl, she too enters this life with many expectations and trepidations, desires and dreams. But reality knocks her down and she's puzzled at what reality has for her. Appanna locks her in the house all alone, only to return in the day for his bath and lunch. Rani's presence in his life is only as his housekeeper and cook. He does not want her to have any social contacts or interactions, and to ensure this or ensure her complete alienation, he first brings home a watchdog, and then you will find that he brings in a mongoose. Here we can say that the gender discrimination is the basis of all kinds of domination and subjugation amongst the sexes. The marginal position of women in the Indian society as a result has become an integral part of the socio-cultural identity of the country. A woman has no identity of her own, a victim of incompleteness. She craves for completeness in her relations, in love, but usually finds none. Though traditionally the man-woman relationship is compared to be to the two wheels of a cart, both equally important, Yet the reality is that female is always the broken, fragmented wheel clinging to the other, that is the male, for support and survival. This inequality and imbalance is clearly visible in the relationship of Rani and Appanna. Rani has no say in any matter. She cannot even question the behavior of her husband. As a result of years of conditioning like that, a girl goes through this conditioning, that is, you are not supposed to question your husband, you're not supposed to question your parents. You're the right from beginning itself. A woman, a girl is always interpolated from internally. Interpolation happens internally. She's interpolated to believe that the society expects her to behave in a particular order. So this years of conditioning that a girl goes through right from birth to her death, in fact, changes her from what she is to what she is not, and it leads to her suppressing her desires, her dreams. It's a kind of sacrifice, and that too a sacrifice with just one side alone. That is, the man does not get to sacrifice anything, only the woman does. So Rani too accepts her subjugation submissively. Rani is a very traditional Indian woman who does not dare to do any harmful act against her husband. That's the reason why you saw that in the earlier section of the play, when we discussed, she pours the curry into the ant hill to destroy it, because she says, Kurudava, that woman is blind. So therefore she does not see it. The cold curry turns red in color. And what if it's a poison? So she doesn't want to destroy or doesn't want anything happening to her husband. But again, fate has a different turn for her. But there is a king cobra which is called Naga. He tastes the liquid and starts love to Rani. So a cobra which can assume any form it likes takes the shape of Appanna. And Naga feels very sad for Rani, for her dismal condition, and goes close to Rani when she's sleeping, and eventually they make love very affectionately. So as I said, the story has layers of interpretation. And therefore, on one side you see the doppelganger theme, where Appanna the person Appanna has this double aspects, that is, he's a stranger during the day and a lover during the night. The same person having two different personalities. And at the same time, it also shows the complex nature of woman, that is, when she does not get love from her husband, she turns to another man who consoles her, who comforts her. So this is an extramarital. So here you can see it as an extramarital relationship. And how is it that we are able to understand all these things? It is because of the interventions of story, it is the intervention of the sutradhar, and basically because of the alienation technique that Karnad has brought in, because then we get an objective view of the play rather than being a subjective viewer wherein we try to associate ourselves with the character of the play. Okay, so let's move on. And you also found that the conversation between Naga and Rani reveals that Rani fears, but when she comes to know that her Appanna starts to love her, at that moment she becomes ready to respond. So she was a very shy, frigid kind of a person. But again, in reality, or as we see the play, we understand that Naga is in the form of Appanna. So there is dramatic irony, another technique. So the dramatic irony is used by Karnad, and therefore we understand, only the audience knows, okay, this is not Appanna, this is Naga. But Rani does not know that. Rani is unaware of the fact that this is Naga and not Appanna. So Appanna and Naga has come in the form of Appanna. However, Rani is therefore she thinks that Appanna has changed his behavior. So she greets him naturally without burden, and Appanna respond or not Appanna, Naga responds to her in a very loving manner, and they make love. Okay, and when in the morning, Rani, thinking that Appanna has completely changed his behavior, she greets him naturally without thinking that this is not the person that she saw at night. She thinks that he will be very affectionate to her. He will run to her passionately, but that does not happen. Appanna does not respond nicely to her. In fact, Appanna is very cold in his response during the day. So poor Rani is confused at this double behavior of her husband, who loves passionately at night, and at daytime he maintains distance. And that is the reason why she complains in the first act towards the last dialogue, the last few scenes of the act 1. You find Naga complaining, Rani complaining to Naga. Rani says, "What can I say if you behave like this?" Naga, "Like this? Rani, you talk so nicely at night, but during the day I only have to open my mouth and you hiss like a stupid snake. It's all very well for you to laugh. I feel like crying." Naga, "What should I do then? Stop coming at night or during the day?" Thus, Rani expresses this confusion about her husband's double behavior. And she's puzzled. She cannot understand reality. Rani cannot comprehend the situation, since Appanna cannot be so affectionate and compassionate. So that's why he is so different. He's so inhuman. How can he be so compassionate and so affectionate at night? Yet at the same time, she's willingly suspending her disbelief, and she enjoys the concern and affection of Naga, who is in the guise of Appanna. So it means that she meets Naga and enjoys his company as assuming that he is her husband. Again, as I told you, layers of meaning. So here in this connection itself, Karnad says, the position of Rani in the story of Nagamandala, for instance, can be seen as a metaphor for the situation of a young girl in the bosom of a joint family, where she sees her husband only in two unconnected roles: as a stranger during the day and as lover at night. Inevitably, the pattern of relationship she is forced to weave from these disjointed encounters must be something of a fiction. The empty house Rani is locked in could be in the family that she's married to. Okay, so that's one thing, that the doppelganger technique, or the theme where Appanna behaves like a stranger in the morning, and lover at night. The joint family, he tries to keep a distance from her to show the society, or to show his family members that he is not he is all powerful. The patriarchal society where man is considered supreme, and therefore being close to his wife or talking to his wife is considered as something that can destroy his image. So he behaves close to her only at night when nobody sees. So that's one thing. Another one that you have to bear in mind, this confusion that Rani has about Appanna's behavior during the day and Naga's behavior during the night. We can say that deep inside her, that's another way of looking at it, in different interpretation. So another thing is, she knows that it is somebody else. There is a suspicion in her that he is somebody else and not Aparna. But she assumes, she enjoys his company as assuming that he is her husband. As assuming. Okay, she tries to assume that he is her husband. So again, that suspicion, from that suspicion we have to read through the lines or read between the lines, because from that we understand this extramarital relationship that is happening in the contemporary society of ours. Outwardly everything is smooth and running. We did explain this in the last video, but this is a very important thing that you have to remember, because though it is in the form of a folk tale, it is a mirror of the society, the reality as such. Okay, so though in the contemporary society all families are happy, not everything is happy. Sometimes or certain times, as a compromise, they try to adjust themselves to many situations, but at heart or deep inside, if you go into their lives, we understand that the husband and the wife lives two different or separate lives. Like that we have in Aparna and his concubine, and Rani and Naga. So this is another interpretation that Karnad tries to give. Okay, so that's what I was trying to tell you. Rani has sufficient reasons to believe that Naga is not Aparna. On the night when the cobra enters the darkened front yard of Rani's house, she hears the sound of the dogs growling and fighting, mixed with the hiss of a snake, which ends shortly after the dog gives a long, painful howl. I hope you remember that section. On the night when she moves into the arms, she notices blood on Naga's cheeks and shoulders. She screams in fright as she looks at Naga in the mirror. At the place where Naga is sitting, she sees a cobra. The next morning when Aparna comes, Rani's confusion is worst confounded. She says, "But last night he had blood on his cheeks and shoulders. Now." So there's a question, there's a confusion. She stands confused. So from the above dialogues, again, if you try to just read and analyze, so from these dialogues, Rani's increasing suspicion about Naga's identity is more. But she doesn't ask a single question to Naga. Her questionable actions reveal that Rani wants to stay happy with her husband like other women in the society, and also satisfy her sexual desire with Naga, although in the guise of her husband Aparna. So that's what I told you about the contemporary society. Any woman, any Indian women of the Indian society, it's not just Indian woman, it's about the whole, it's a universal thing. It's not just about woman, it's also about man. So they want to have a happy life in the society. They want to show the society they are living happily. At the same time, there might be fights, or there might be misunderstandings and lack of sharing the same wavelength and so on and so forth, all those things, and they try to satisfy their sexual desires by having an extramarital affair. Considered from a realistic point of view, Naga represents the modern new woman's right to choice, right to choose a life overcoming all obstacles to her happiness. It symbolizes the breaking of barriers, crossing of the lines that intend to imprison a woman and distance her from the surrounding as well as her own self. More an initiator than a leader, Naga actually initiates Rani onto the path of transformation. The embodiment of Rani's happy married life, Naga's love, is a life support for Rani. In her dreamlike state, as a result of her long moments of isolation and yearning, Rani is blissfully intoxicated with Naga's love and throws all cautions to the winds regarding her husband's contrasting behavior. Stranger by day, lover by night. Aparna reflects that schizophrenic temperament of typical male, insensitive and selfish Indian man. All right. So I hope if you are thorough with this, we can move on to the next act. Okay. So before we move on to the next act, let us take up that lines, the last few lines where Naga speaks about the last line, that is Naga in the last few lines of Act 1. Rani, let it. I don't feel afraid anymore with you beside me. Father says. The cobra simply hooks the bird's eyes with its own sight. The bird stares and stares, unable to move its eyes. It doesn't feel any fear either. It stands fascinated, watching the changing colors in the eyes of the cobra. It just stares, its wings half opened as though it was sculpted in the sunlight. Naga, look at Naga's words, the dialogue that Naga says. Then the snake strikes and swallows the bird. Now that we find that the meaning, the base meaning would be, the denotative meaning would be that she's completing Rani's story of what her father told her, but the connotative meaning or the implied meaning here is much more than that. When he says the snake strikes and swallows the bird, it is an implication of love making. So after that, he look at the next thing that happens is he kisses her. The flames surround and dance and sing. Naga and Rani join them. Join what? Join them. Or the flames are singing the song of love. They are dancing on stage. Nothing is being shown, but the implication is that they are making love. Okay, the flames surround them and they sing their song of love making. The flames around, they become the chorus. So they the song that they sing at the end of the Act 1 explains the relationship between Naga and Rani. All right, and Rani has been asked not to question Naga. And this puzzling behavior will continue. That itself is placing Rani in darkness, and that she shouldn't be questioned. Again, a sort of subjugation. Okay, so let's just read the flames. What the song of the flames. Come, let us dance through the weaver bird's nest, and the light the hanging lamps of glowworms through the caverns in the ant hill, and set the diamond in the cobra's crown ablaze. Through the blind woman's dream, through the deaf mute's song, come, let us flow down the tresses of time, all night and song. All light and song. So the flames and even the flames and the story, they are shape shifting. They are techniques of shape shifting. The flames become beautiful women, and story also is dressed, and the song and the story is dressed together as a woman. They function as the chorus here. They comment on the ongoing action of Naga and Rani, the relationship between Naga and Rani. Again, as I told you, this relationship speaks volumes of meaning, or speaks volumes. It has several implications. It has several meanings or interpretations. One is that of the double nature of Aparna. Another, or man as such. Another one is the extramarital affair that happens in the contemporary society. Women, the modern woman, where of the Indian society, where she is no longer content with being subjugated. She is free to have her dreams, to chase her dreams, or to make herself happy. She's also in this quest for identity is also shown. You have another story that you have the semester, another novel that you study. The semester is also about this quest for identity, and that's Roots and Shadows, where Indu is in the quest of her identity. Who is she? It's all her dialogues. You will find a quest for identity. Then, so the chorus and the song, they illuminate the audience with new insights about the latent thematic motives. The shape-shifting of Naga, or the shape-shifting Naga, places the characters of Rani and Aparna in the proper perspective. Rani yields to Naga, mistaking his identity for her husband, but Aparna has no qualms of conscience about his illicit relationship with the prostitute. Aparna doubts, later we understand that Aparna doubts Rani's fidelity, though he himself is unfaithful to her. But Rani has implicit faith and love for her husband. So this strategy of shape-shifting also illuminates the human perspective of the playwright. Through the ritual of shape-shifting, Karnad questions and mocks at the hypocrisy of the patriarchal system, which confines dubious values like chastity and fidelity only to a woman. Accordingly, chastity is an ethical realm of Karnad and is not linked to fidelity. Okay. So he's asked, well, is this chastity and fidelity only a matter only to a woman? Is it not there meant for a man? Can man have many illicit relationship, and when a woman starts having one, she is questioned? So these are the things that Karnad questions and mocks especially at the hypocrisy of the Indian patriarchal system. Okay. So with that we shall end the lecture. And we have completed Act 1, and we shall begin Act 2 in the next video. So thank you, and keep safe.
Tired.